Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be creating an art journal page, actually a art journal layout, because we're going to be doing 2 pages. This is pretty much just kind of getting myself warmed up here because I'm getting ready to start the next part of the art journaling basics, which we're going to be focusing on mixed media. I'm pretty much adding all different kinds of mediums and just all different kinds of things to an art journal page. So I just wanted to kind of get my hands a little wet here, if you may, and just play around with some things. So pretty much what you see me doing here is adding collage. Now, I didn't add gesso to begin with. I went ahead and started my page by just using some heavy gel matte medium, which is a product by Decoart, and it is an absolutely awesome product. I am really loving the heavy gel. Even more so, I think, than the regular matte medium that I use by Decoart. I think I like this product a little bit better when it comes to adhering and gluing things down. So the tissue paper that I use, the first one, is the tissue paper by Holtz. This other that you see me applying now is actually napkin. And this is a napkin that I used a couple days ago that I just kind of had it laying there next to me, and as I was playing around with different inks and just applying watercolors and different things to other projects, I kept using this napkin to kind of clean off my brush or to dab off excess colors and inks and paints and things like that. And I really liked the way that it looked once it was dry, because I usually don't throw them out away like the very first day. Like, I'll let them dry and just see what happens. And I really liked the way that it looked, so I figured I would use this on this project. So a quick tip for you guys, you know, when you're working with your acrylics, when you're, you know, playing around or practicing or whatever, you know, you guys are doing, maybe have a little bit of some tissue next to you and clean off your brush, clean off your excess, you know, watercolors and paints and different things, and let your napkins dry. You can use those, you can repurpose those and add them into your art journal. So now that I've added all of these different elements to it, now I'm going to apply a clear coat of gesso. And I haven't really played with this gesso too much yet when it comes to actually making an art journal page. So I wanted to give it a try and see more or less how I liked, you know, the way that it went. If you notice, it did pick up some of the inks and some of the watercolors because those things are a little bit water soluble. But I'm quite alright with that because this is just the first layer. We're still going to have many other layers to go. On this art journal page, I wanted to try a plethora of different products. So you're going to see me pretty much pulling out some alcohol inks and pretty much different things, you know, different sprays and alcohol inks and things that are, you know, water soluble, things that are reactive to alcohol, and just kind of, I went to town. I used all the little things in my little package that I hadn't used for quite some time because I actually had these put away somewhere. And just creating drips and adding water and all different kinds of things. And this is the reason why you want to, you know, make sure that you apply a gesso. Now, if you don't have clear gesso, then you can go ahead and add gesso to the, you know, to the very first, you know, prepare your pages by adding gesso at the beginning, and then, you know, glue down all your other elements. It'll work just the same. So here, pretty much, I'm adding alcohol inks. I'm adding, you know, ink sprays, acrylic sprays, and I'm just, like I said, going to town. I'm doing all different kinds of things on this page. I'm using things that are reactive to each other, things that are only reactive to water. So as you can see, some of the dots are there. Those are because those are only reactive to alcohol and they're not reactive to water. And then the other ones that you saw that have movement are because they are reactive to water and not necessarily reactive to alcohol. So I just use, you know, I just did this for a couple of different layers and just kept adding color and wiping color away and adding color, spraying it down with water, adding some of the little alcohol drops, which is a product by Ranger, I believe. And just, I kind of just used everything that I had. I used everything. These are some of my own homemade alcohol sprays. And these are just pretty much, you know, like markers and alcohol, and just kind of letting them dilute into one another, and then you could create some sprays with that. And I'm also using my Jane Davenport mermaid markers, again for inking effects and just adding different things, plus they're reactive to water. So I wasn't really sure. For the most part, I was kind of just having fun with this and just playing around with different techniques and just trying to see like the different effects. that I would get from, you know, incorporating alcohol reactive and water reactive, you know, inks and colors and stuff like that. So I just went crazy as you can possibly see here. So now I'm going to add some white acrylic paints, and again just spraying them down and diluting the page and continuing just to add and add and add and add, and just seeing, you know, what comes out. Sometimes you get really nice effects. Sometimes you can create mud, but because some of these colors wouldn't react with each other, because again one was alcohol based and one was water based, I didn't create too much mud. Not any mud that I didn't want to create for the most part. So again, just using napkins to kind of dab them down, and then I actually have those napkins saved that I used on this project, because you never know. Even sometimes when you create mud, even those things can be used. You can create trees with them, you can create branches, like, you know, you can do all different kinds of things with these, you know, napkins once they've all dried up. So I started kind of to get an idea of what I wanted to do at this point in time. So I took the bottom third of the page to kind of create like this plane, right? I wanted to have one solid piece in the bottom. And this was kind of coming to be in bits and pieces. Again, I wasn't really quite sure of where I was going with this. I did know that for the most part I wanted to use some kind of animals on this page. So I did know that I wanted some kind of like a flat area where I can put some of these animals down. Excuse me. Where I can kind of put some of these animals down. So, you know, I'm using a combination of inks and as well as acrylics, and just adding and adding, and then wiping excess away. It's just a good fun thing to do. At least for me it is. And I was just kind of retesting out some of these products, if you will, because it's been a while I haven't played with like my alcohol inks and all of those other things. So here I wanted to create some bubbles, but I wasn't really sure again exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm just creating circles, and then not really with any rhyme or reason, just creating some circles on my page and trying to see, okay, what I want to do. I have this flat land, and then I have these kind of circles hovering over me, but we'll see how this whole thing turns out. I actually did like the way it turned out at the end. Once it all kind of came together, I really enjoyed how this page looked. There was something different for me as far as how the whole page turned out. It's not really something, as far as my aesthetic, it's not really something that I normally go for, but it was kind of cool. It was kind of fun. So I'll definitely be doing this again, just trying new things, if you will, for this 2018. Trying to broaden up you know, my horizons, my wings, if you will. So I'm just adding again. Now I'm playing with different paints, and these are fluid acrylics. These are paints that are a little bit looser in consistency, and they're by Decoart. So here I'm like, okay, I have a ground. I'm starting to get an idea. I think I'm going to make a sky, and this is why you see me kind of painting all the way around. I did want to keep some of that, all that color and everything that I added in there, but the page was just overall too busy for me when it came to actually putting down some simple animals in the bottom. So I was like, I need to do something to this, to the top part of this page, to kind of bring it all kind of together. And what I like about the fluid acrylics is the fact that you can still see 99% of the colors that I put in the background, the papers that I added in the background, you can still see them through the paint, because since it is a more looser kind of paint, there's a certain level of transparency to them. So it might be hard to see here, but I will attach some pictures at the end where you can kind of see what the whole page looks like. And you can also catch some pictures on my Instagram, which is Design Elemental on Instagram. So you can also see you know, pictures there. I post a lot of previews and stuff like that. So here I'm adding some green, and now I'm starting to build like my ground layer, right? I'm starting to build like my little grassy area, and I'm playing with you know, just highlights and lowlights, and just seeing where it kind of goes. So I'm just adding all different kinds of colors that I think complement each other, like greens, yellows, and browns, and just kind of going to town. And I really like the texture of you know, the napkin that I put in the background, because it kind of It grabs paint in different areas, so some paint looks a little darker in some places and not so dark in others, so it gives the illusion of like grass, or at least some kind of textured land, which is really cool. I wanted to kind of paint some mountains off in the background, and because they're in the background, like they're far you don't necessarily have to worry so much about detail. You just have to add a little bit of highlight, if you will, and the highlights kind of do the rest for you. So just a little dab of like a white or just a really light color, you know, on one side creates the illusion of light kind of bouncing off of it on one side, and then you can kind of see it a little bit more. So here we're going to pretty much use some animal stamps to stamp down some animals, and I'm using a giraffe, elephant, and some zebras. So for the giraffe, I used paper that was already kind of colorful and kind of true to their colors to a certain extent. So I used this paper that was like yellowish and, you know, kind of polka dotty, if you will, or had like different textures going on with different hues of yellow and light brown on it. And I used that for the giraffe because that's pretty much kind of like what their tones are anyway. So that kind of made life a little bit easier for, you know, in that department. I didn't have to color the whole image out. For the elephant, I'm going to use a paper that is kind of bluish, kind of gray. It looks like a cloudy day, and I thought that color was perfect for the elephant. And then for the zebras, I just stamped them out on white paper because zebras are black and white, so that just made life kind of easy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fuzzy cut all of these out, and I'm going to glue them down into my page using the Heavy Gel Matte Medium by Decoart. And I just kind of, you know, put them down in an assortment, like they were all kind of grazing or just kind of walking. Not well, I don't know if they're considered walking, but they were just kind of moving along, you know, in this savanna type of environment. So here I'm going to be adding a little bit of foliage, a little bit of flowers, just other little things to kind of add some texture to here to make it look like there's some kind of plant life going on, because I didn't really focus too much on like grass or anything like that. And also I'm going to be embellishing some of the circles, well, all of the circles actually, with some of these stamps. Some of the, I think one of the stamps is by, I think one of the stamps is by Stampin' Up. It's from a Spanish set that I have, and then the other one is from the My Little Darlings brand, I believe, that I got when they were on clearance. I really like the flowers. The only thing that I will say is that sometimes when you're stamping over painted surfaces, because you have ink and here the, you know, the background, you know, the painted surface is a little bit slick, you might get some slippage here and there. But since you're using it for mostly a background type of a situation, it's not necessarily like a focal point, it's just decoration. I really didn't mind. Plus you can always reinforce it by either going over with a marker, you know, or with a pen or something of that nature. If you get any images that are a little bit blurry, you can always, you know, draw out the rest of it, or at least a rough estimate of what it looks like. So I've pretty much filled in most of my circles. Now I didn't really like the music notes that I got stamped in that top corner, so I used alcohol to kind of remove that ink and also kind of remove some of the paint and expose some of that paper in the background. So that's something that you can do to kind of re-expose maybe some areas. You can use alcohol on some kind of a wipe and just kind of remove some of the paint and some of the layer for extra effect. So I kind of liked how that went. So here I'm using some of my Faber Castell Pitt Pens to just add some shading. And since they already had, the elephant already had shading because of the black little lines that it came with, I just pretty much used like a darker gray to just kind of go right into those little lines areas and just reinforce that shadowing. And here with my other colorful Pitt Pens, I'm just kind of reinforcing just some of the colors that are already there and just creating some highlights. Some of the, you know, the patterns on the zebra that didn't come out so well, I'm just reinforcing them and recoloring them in with a Pitt Pen. And as I said before, Pitt Pens are with India ink, so once you leave it alone for like a minute or two, it will dry, and it doesn't matter what you put on it, the ink won't go anywhere. So now that looks more like a giraffe, and I don't know if I said zebra before because I keep confusing my animals for some reason. Now I didn't do any highlighting on the zebras themselves. I left the zebras as they were. Now I'm just going to add some shadowing and just you know, try to go into these circles a little bit more, give them more of a purpose for being there, and just going into them with two different kinds of blues. And these Pitt pens by Faber Castell, you can actually buy them in packs of you know, for landscaping or anime or different things. Different sets bring different colors, so you don't necessarily have to go out and buy yourself like the whole kit and caboodle. You can go building up your stash little by little, which is what I've done. I've bought them, you know, a small pack at a time, which is more affordable than buying the whole thing all at once. And they're, like I said, they're separated into genres like landscape, you know, anime, you know, drawing, this and that, all different, you know, they're all different sets. And they have numbers on them, and from the looks of it, this collection, the Faber Castell collection on the Pitt pens, is humongous. So you don't need them all. You just need a few of, you know, the regular tones, you know, regular colors that you use most often. For me, it will definitely be more like landscaping and things like that. So I've kind of decided on a sentiment for this page, just because I feel that they're like in a place of peace. There's no wild, you know, there's no lions, there's no tigers, there's nothing that is gonna, you know, come at them, if you will. So I chose the sentiment of serenity for this page, because to me it feels very serene, being in that kind of environment. I just pretty much put myself in a state of mind, like if I was here and I was watching these beautiful animals just kind of passing along, like I would just feel so at peace just watching them. So I thought that this would be a perfect you know, kind of sentiment to use for this page. So I'm using Tim Holtz foam stamps. They have a really nice size to the letters. Remember that I had mentioned a while back that I wanted to get these. Yes, I got them. Woohoo! So I'm just kind of going into them with black again, just to make sure that they are dark. And at the beginning, I just did a little bit of doodling on them, and I thought, okay, this is going to show enough. But I actually end up opting to outline all the letters all together, because I did realize that it was not, it wasn't enough. It didn't show well enough for me. So I end up actually going into it a little bit more. But the doodles came out good though. So either way, it still adds to the, you know, to the design aspect of the page and everything else. And there I try to write a little sentiment. I try to write a way of life. But again, it didn't work out so well for me. I didn't really like my handwriting, and the colors wasn't showing too well. So I'm like, I'm just going to scratch that all together and just do something else. Initially, this was supposed to be it for the page. I was going to be done with it, but you know, I just didn't feel good. So I went into my stash of like little butterflies that I always try to punch out of pieces of scraps of paper, just to try to get the most bang for my buck. So I use my punches whenever I can and just save them, you know, different shapes like that, and just keep them there on the side, because you never know when they could come in handy. So I just do that as a practice. And here I've just assorted some butterflies, and I used like, it's like a green, it's like a greenish yellow paper and then a pink paper. And I just kind of added these butterflies kind of everywhere, just to kind of fill in the spaces. And I tried to kind of add a little bit of highlighting to them with gelatos, but like it worked, but it didn't work, because as you can see, I'm kind of peeling off some of the butterflies. So if you're going to do something similar to this, I would recommend that you add your gelato first, or add your paint first to make your highlight, and then glue on your things. So now I'm going to add some splashes. And at the beginning, I'm like, let me protect certain things. But then I'm like, you know what? Just go crazy. Enjoy yourself. You're in a place of peace. It's called serenity. There's nothing more peaceful to me than splashing paint. So I just went crazy yet again and lost my marbles and just splashed all over the page. So this is what it was looking. That's why I was showing you guys. I was like, okay, I'm done. But I'm like, no, I'm not. So I got a Dylusions. It's like a paint pen, I would say. And then I used that to kind of outline all of the letters. And now they definitely stand out more. Now you can't even see the doodles that I did on the letters themselves, just because I started splashing paint and everything else to it. But by me highlighting them, then the letters themselves started to pop out a little bit more. And I was happy at the end with this page. And so this page is about to be done, you guys. I want to say thank you all so very much. I hope that you have enjoyed this process. Get ready for Art Journaling Basics, where we're going to be doing mixed media. We're going to be doing stenciling and playing with all different kinds of, you know, layers and just a little bit of everything. We're going to be doing a little bit of everything. And I'm also going to be continuing with the series with other projects that I've pretty much have in mind that are all going to be somehow art journal related or mixed media related, but they're all going to fall under the same thing. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that and also follow along. I welcome you all to try to recreate in one way or the other some of the, you know, art journal pages that I've been showing you guys. And just some of the techniques that you've been learning here, as well as, you know, with so many other amazing, you know, YouTube artists and, you know, crafters, so on and so forth that we have here, because we have an amazing community. So overall, thank you all so much for watching. Just enjoy the rest of the video. I am going to go ahead and leave some pictures at the end of what the page overall looked like, and I hope that you enjoyed. I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, it has been a pleasure to create and share with you all. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do so. And if you want to stay tuned to all my future projects, then definitely hit that little bell. It's somewhere under there in the bottom. For a list of products, open up the description area, you guys. Any comments, leave them down below. Goodbye.